What is good, good people? You are now listening to another episode of Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth, and once again, we have an extremely special guest for an extremely special occasion. You may remember back on the Mother's Day episode, I had my mother as my special guest, so it's only right that for Father's Day, I bring my father on. This is the man who is inadvertently responsible for the Since We Last Spoke podcast, because without him, there's no podcast, and even more important, there's no Danny Foxworth. So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight as my special guest, I have Pop Dukes, aka Ronnie Foxworth. Dad, how are things in your world?
Things are great.
Good, man. I'm so glad to have you on. I'm excited about this. So, we're going to get right into the very beginning of Dad.
Okay. All right.
Just talking about being a child, just growing up in Longridge. What was that like for you?
I kind of like grew up almost like by myself because I was 11 years old before I got my brother. So pretty much I was kind of like a loner. So I was more like an introvert. I didn't have a lot of friends, but it was cool with me because that didn't bother me. But
So
go ahead.
I was going to say, well, you go ahead. Finish what you were going to say.
You make up a friend in your mind and you play by yourself. So that's how it was for me. And by the time 11 years was up, here comes a brother, and I wanted a brother for so long. By the time he got here, I felt like, what is this? When I wanted one, I didn't have one. Now he's here and I don't want him. So I had to get used to that. I said, take him back where you got him from, because I don't want him. That was crazy, out of young, innocent ignorance. But man, I fell in love with him shortly after those feelings,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what were some of your favorite things to do as a child?
Play with toys, or I used to get like cat pistols. Have Gun Will Travel was one of my favorite cat pistol set, because back in those days, what was popular on television was Westerns.
Mm-hmm.
Not like it is now. Everything is so different now, but I still watch a lot of Westerns for entertainment for myself because my dad watched them. I watched them, and most people my age still do somewhat.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I have a lot of fellow friends whose fathers also do the same thing in their spare time. And it's funny having conversations with my friends. I'm like, because even them, they're like, man, when I go see my parents and dad's over there, he's watching Gunsmoke. I'm like, man, come on.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. So talk about, I know one of your biggest hobbies and passions is playing the bass guitar. So how did you get into learning the bass guitar?
Well, first, before the bass guitar, that was one of the toys that I used to always get for Christmas, was like a toy guitar. So
Really?
I started off with those things. And there used to be a guy, his name was Clarence Johnson. He would walk from the Black Tom Road and sit on the front porch, and he would say, boy, he said, get that guitar and play something for me. And I would get it and tune it the best way that I knew how, and I had something going fairly decent, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So he would just lay back on the front porch and just laugh. And he'd look at my parents and he said, that boy's going to be something one day. You watch and see what I tell you.
Really?
So, yes. And he spoke that over me as a kid. I was probably 4, maybe, but later on, as I grew, believe it or not, I had this thing with a rubber band on my desk. When you take like a tire tube, you take that off of your books, put it on that adjustable knob on your desk, and I could play tunes on the one rubber band, and to me, that entertained me in between, doing stuff in class. I know I shouldn't have been doing that. And probably a bad example to say something like that, but I did it. And, a lot of people say, what are you doing? I said, put your head on the desk and see what I'm doing. You can hear it. And it sounds like a stereo sound from the vibration on the top of the desk. So from there, I was about 16 years old. A good friend of mine, my best friend in this world, is Leonard Smith. And they had this like gospel group. And I could remember, as a kid, I guess I could have been like a nuisance to him, but he always treated me very, very well. And he was cutting some bean pole for the farmers, how they plant beans and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, I got a bass guitar. I said, you don't have no bass guitar. And, I was so persistent with wanting to see it. I said, man, you're not done yet. I kept riding my bicycle back up and down, and he could have said, boy, get away from me. So what he said to me was, he said, I'm going to show it to you, but I got to get this done first. So after that, he got done. He took me in his house and he showed me, he had a lead guitar that was sky blue. The bass guitar was sky blue. And getting away from the rubber band on the desk, I started off with one string on that bass guitar because I knew how to do that. Then I went to 2 strings, and shortly after that came all 4 strings with the dexterity. So that was interesting. I played with that group for a little while, but they was kind of strict on the genre of music that you play, because anything, they would only allow you to play like a certain sound for a fast song and a certain sound for a slow song. Pretty soon I got bored with that, so I quit. And then I went to the clubs. I did that for about 2 years.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
You can go. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you hearing like doing that in class with the rubber band, it reminded me of something that one of my favorite producers, Pharrell, once said, and it always stuck with him. He said, always stay loyal to the curiosity. And even at 4 years old, when you said you were trying to doing your best to play notes with Mr. Clarence, and then going from that up to playing with the band, playing with that rubber band in class, like you said, when you were 16, and then graduating to playing in the clubs and actually playing an actual guitar.
Yeah,
that's an awesome progression. So when did you start playing with an actual guitar?
When I was 16. When he showed me that guitar, he wanted me to join that gospel group.
Got you. Okay.
And I could make the sound, but I was up and down on the neck because I knew the one string. I understood that. So he had patience. He said, you stay right there on that one string and give me what you got until you get the rest. He could have said, man, yeah, that's the way he did it. And, the table has turned because I listen to a huge genre of music. I could share with you some of my favorite people. One was James Brown.
Oh, of course.
Yes. And Frankie Beverly featuring Maze, Sly and the Family Stone. I got a little bit from each one of these groups, and there's a lot more that I could name, but I would gravitate towards the groups that sung as well as playing their instrument. That's what turned me on.
Gotcha.
So yeah. So then you listening to them and then working on how to do what they were doing, that kept my mind occupied all the time. Being an introvert, when I turned to my music, I was happy, like I had a bunch of friends, because my music was like my best friend. It made me peaceful when I was sad. I just pick up the guitar and hit a couple grooves and cheer myself up with that. Yeah.
So around the time when you started playing in the clubs, what do you remember your first gig?
Well, let me tell you how that happened. There was a group called the Dynamic MCs from Mun's Corner, and the people in the group knew that I could play. So somebody asked whether, whether I could do a couple, songs by James Brown. And the bass player, he he agreed, and he let me get up on stage, and I played those couple songs, and then I got off the stage. So the bass player, what he said to me was, he stuttered a little bit. He said, "I tell you what, you play the bass and I'll be the manager." And I said, wait. I said, I wasn't trying to take your job. I just appreciate you letting me, get up and do my thing for a little while. He
Mm-hmm.
said, no. He said, no, 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 no. I want you to play and I'll be the manager. So that's how that happened. He loved what I was doing, and he knew he had the desire, but he didn't have the gift.
Got you.
So
Got you.
I guess when I got up, he loved what he heard from me, so he just switched it out. Me taking his place and him managing the group.
And what club was this at?
We went we went into Hollywood. I can't remember the clubs now because it was so long ago, we went in Charleston a couple places, and some in one's corner. Um that's where I saw your mom,
Okay.
and yeah, I think it was Club Apollo. That's the place she used to like to hang out.
Yeah.
I didn't like Apollo. I only went there because I knew she was there. But my favorite club was Club Riviera because the band was bigger, and the the band that she used to listen to was, I think, it was a three-piece band. They were very talented. They were good, but my favorite place was Riviera. But I would sacrifice once I found out she was there. Like how I end up to Apollo one time is like the band wasn't at Riviera. So I said, well, I'll just go to this place, which was Apollo. And she was there. And I said, oh my God, look at that, you know? Man, I saw her, and it, she blew my mind, not talking to her, just the way she looked. She had one of the baddest afro out there, and she knew she had it so neat. And I just loved it. I just loved the way she looked, the way she was built. I said, "Oh my God," and so every once in a while, instead of going to Apollo, I would go to Riviera just to see if I could see her.
Hmm.
And the craziest thing was that, man, there was this girl, there was a friend of hers. She was infatuated with me, and she would send messages to my father-in-law to give to me. And she wasn't even my girl yet. I was just trying to get her to be my girl.
Hmm.
And so what I said to him, I said, sir, I said, I don't I don't know why this lady is after me like she is. I said, because I said, your daughter is the one that I really like. So what my father-in-law said was, he said, oh, I don't want you to get my daughter in no trouble. So I felt like this was like a thing against me. This girl's sending messages through him to my job, because he used to deliver Coca-Cola, so he went to all of the stores, and that's where I was working there. And I think I kind of convinced him, but he still wasn't too sure about that. So he checked me out for a little while, and I don't know whether you know Earl Smith.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know him?
Yep.
Okay, his sister, she called me up one afternoon, and you know how I used to, well, I can tell you how I used to be. I didn't like dealing with a crowd. If I went out with one person, that was a limit.
Hmm.
But she said, "Are you going out tonight?" And I said, "Yes, I am." She said, "Can I ride with you?" And I said, "Yeah." And then she said, "Well, I got a friend that I want to take." So I said, "Crap." that turned me off right there, So
Yeah.
her friend was the one I was looking for. So when I went to pick her up and I saw her coming down them steps, I said, "Oh my God, this is where she lives."
How about that? How about that?
So that was like a blessing in disguise. And so I took Earl's sister home first, took her home last,
Hmm.
so I could talk with her for a little bit. And I said, "Is it all right?" I said, "Can I come back?" And she said, "Yeah." So I told her what time I was going to be back, and I was there dead on the minute. You know what I mean? I wasn't messing around. So, and because I wasn't very talkative back in those days, I didn't want her to know that I played the guitar, because sometimes people are attracted to you because you can do that. Because
Hmm.
I didn't talk very much. I wanted her to get to know me and like me for me, and not because I could play the instrument.
Got you.
So I kept going, and I remember my mother-in-law said, "Let me tell you one thing, ain't nothing but one boy coming here at a time." And I looked around to the left, I look around to the right, and I said, "Well, look like that might be me." But I didn't say nothing. That was an inward thought, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was it. Yeah, and short, I'm gonna tell you, within, that might sound crazy to you, in 2 months, I gave her an engagement ring.
Because you knew she
She
was the
accepted
one.
it. She was the one. I mean, I didn't care nothing about like dating a bunch of people at one time.
Yeah.
So what my mother-in-law said, which she wasn't my mother-in-law at that time, that was right up my alley. I said, because if I'm here and I'm liking and she's liking me back, this is it. So we did wait a year before we got married, but I gave her that engagement ring 2 months, in 2 months.
There you
And
go.
a lot of people would think that's foolish, but it worked out for me.
Yeah. It sure has.
Yeah.
So just transitioning from the courtship phase to the parent phase. So when mom first told you that she was pregnant with Melissa,
Hmm.
just take me through that moment.
I was very excited. Uh, there's no words to really express how happy it made me feel, because I wanted a wife and I wanted kids, you know, and I thought she was going to be a boy, but the first one was a girl, and for a split second I felt a little disappointed because the firstborn was a girl, but like with my brother, in just a second, seen her, fell in love with that little thing,
Do
and
you
she was my buddy.
do you remember
Um,
where you were when you got the news that she was pregnant?
I was home.
Okay.
Yeah, I was home, and 3 years later, here comes the boy. You were like my trophy kid, because
Yeah.
you were stout. I can remember when you were 2 weeks old. I put you in the corner of the crib and took a picture, and boy, your mom was angry, because that was you was she felt like you was a little fragile, but you were so big and hefty looking. You wasn't fat, you was just stout,
Yeah.
I felt like I knew what I was doing, because I was going to take this picture real quick and then lay you back down. But at 2 weeks old, you look like you was about 2 months old, you know?
Hmm.
So yeah. And parenthood, you know, I enjoyed it. Um, my work, I miss about half of everything, but your mom had my back with events that you guys had to go to that I was not able to take you to.
Hmm.
She did it because I worked day and night in the same week,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, so that was kind of difficult. That's what caused me to miss some of the things with you guys. But when I was off and when I was home, you guys knew for sure that I loved you, because I gave you a lot of love. I played with you all
Sure
the
did.
time,
Sure
you
did.
know. harass you so much that I got on your nerves sometimes, but that was my joy, you know.
Yeah.
And Melissa, she became like your sister and your second mom, you know, because she was a very
Hmm.
protective of you. You were a smart little kid. You started read. You wouldn't talk for a long time, so I thought there was something wrong, you know. And I look at, and one day we were going towards Charleston. You was about 3 years old, and you didn't hardly say nothing. No, you didn't say anything. You just suck your fingers.
Yep, that was me.
So yeah, I normally have my music kind of loud in the vehicle, but that particular time I didn't. You know, me and your mom was talking, and we drove by a sign, and you read it, and I look at your mom. I said, did I just hear him say something? I was so relieved that you wasn't special, if that's the correct word, because you didn't
Yeah.
talk till you was about 3. And we went by another sign, and you read that sign, and I said, holy crap, this boy. I said, he's not special. I said he just didn't talk because he didn't want to. But but man, I was so happy and relieved that you were okay. And not only that, that you was reading at 3. But that was like unheard of for me. Took so much
Yeah.
pressure off. And
Yeah.
I was so extremely proud of the ability that you had to read at 3.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I talk when I was ready to, and I guess I just wasn't ready to.
You wasn't. And a little bit later, we would be in the stores, and you would leave, and you would introduce yourself to people. You say, "Hi, my name is Danny Foxworth," and you give them your phone number and your address. I
Yep,
said,
I
"Oh,
do
wait a
remember.
minute." You
I
would
do remember that.
you would sneak off and just do that, and we finally got a harness for you so you couldn't get away. People used to look at us really funny. Melissa was easy. You were the challenge, because
Yeah.
you were high energy and you hopped a lot. Instead of walking, you would just hop, and then after a while, you started walking. But as far as parenthood, it was like a great experience for me. I had the privilege to do something that my father didn't do for me, is love you from the jumps, love you and your sister from the jump.
Hmm.
See, my dad had a booze problem, so the first 10 years of my life was very, very rough, with him getting angry and abusing. And I wanted to make sure when I got my kids. Now he redeemed himself because he was good for my brother. He was good for you and Melissa and Lanye.
Hmm.
And I was grateful for that, but he wasn't the best dad for me. So when you guys came along, I felt like I wanted to be one of the best dads in the world, to show my kids love from the jump street. You know what I mean? From the beginning all the way up to now. Like there's no stopping with the love until my eyes are closed. But yeah, I mean, and what I love that I got my kids back, and our kids have our back, you know, and I feel like
Hmm.
I'm impressed with that because a lot of people can't say that,
Yeah.
a lot. And I'm grateful for the relationship that we have.
I
You
am
know,
too.
yeah.
You- You're
Me
not
and you.
one. You're not one of the best dads. You are the best dad,
Well, I thank you for saying that.
and I mean that too.
Thank you.
But
But I traded what I felt like I could have done as a musical career for my wife and my kids. And now that I'm retired, I'm still doing my thing with my music, but I'm doing it in church. And the music is so complex now, so I get to enjoy it because I can kick it and feel good about what I'm doing, and I'm not bored just because it's church. The music has changed so much, and it's like what we do is 5 songs every week that we have to rehearse and get it together for Sundays. So that's like a challenge. And I love the challenge. I love it.
And I like the fact that with those different songs, it still keeps your mind sharp.
Yes, it does. Sometimes some of it, when they're doing it for the young youth,
Hmm.
it stretches me, but I'm open, and I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful that I met the woman of my dreams. I married her, 48 years of marriage, 2 wonderful kids. I mean, it don't get no better than that for me. It don't take much more than that to make me happy, and
Hmm.
I'm still using the gift that God gave me, the desire I had ever since I was a kid. And you can tell it because when you come over to the house sometimes, I guess I have the room rumbling with that bass guitar. When
Hmm.
I'm working on the set for the next Sunday or whatever, or for the Sunday that's coming up. But with the sacrifice I made for my family, no regrets. No
Man,
regrets.
that's awesome. That's
If
awesome.
I
And
if I had it to do again, I would do it all the way the same way.
dig it, dig it. So, just to wrap this up, do you have any advice for young fathers and also fathers of adults?
Um, I would say what I've learned is to talk and listen. Talk to your kids and then listen to them, and don't just do all lecturing, but they have a mind, and a lot of people don't like to say it like this, but you can learn from your kids, because I learn from you and Melissa all the time. Don't think because you're the oldest and you're the mother or the father that you can't learn from them, because they're born in a different day and time. And what is still the same thing that's sort of going to work for them, but only in a different format, because as the time change and the time shift, you got to shift with it, or you'll be left behind and you would be old school teaching when you need to be teaching in a different way.
Hmm.
Follow me? So yeah, if you talk to your kids and allow them to express themselves, then you can best know how to give them advice when they need it. But if you just fuss and lecture all the time and don't listen to them, then you don't really know what's in their mind and how they're going to rebel against you.
Yeah, that's some very sage advice right there.
Yes,
So,
but that's it.
man, you knocked this one out the park, man. And before I go, I just gotta say from my heart, man, seriously, I love the hell out of you, Dad. Like
And I love you
seriously,
back.
man. I mean, I remember the trips to Kerry Hilliers to get the shrimp and scallops. Playing in the yard.
Yeah.
I mean, even calling me out of my room just so I can come down the hall so you can, hey, Danny, come down here. Hey, close these blinds for me. I'm like, you know what? All right, fine. Man, all those great memories, man. Just you riding with me when I was in Boy Scouts, taking us to the campsites and stuff, helping pitch the tent. I'll never forget those memories.
Me either.
Going to aviation theater to catch a movie.
Yeah.
Kung Fu theater on Saturdays. We call it Pizza Hut, and we just chill out, just
Yeah.
spending quality time together, man. It don't get better than that.
I don't. And you know what? I still enjoy, like, my daughter's in Memphis, Tennessee. I We can FaceTime one another with this modern technology, and I can see her anytime I want to. And you being next door, that's a bonus, because if I need something from you, all I got to do is ask, and you're right there for me. And if you need something from me, all you got to do is ask, and I'm right there for you. And that's what life is all about. you know,
helping each other out, having each other's
support.
back.
Yep, support. Everybody needs somebody sometime.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you close, because you could have been somewhere else, but you still here,
Yeah.
you know. But like I said, I enjoy my wife's still 48 years of marriage. The first 10 years was a little rough, but guess what? We made it through.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Man, this is such a great episode, man. I was looking forward to this all day today, and you made it happen. And again, you knocked it out of the park, man. So is there any last words you want to say?
No, I'm good. I felt like I'm hoping I didn't overtalk, you know. I hope.
No,
Okay, okay.
you did great. So
All right.
for all of y'all still listening and watching on YouTube, I appreciate your eyes and ears. Make sure you like, download, and subscribe to Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. And for Dad and myself, till next time, y'all be good. Peace.
Peace.